A long, long time ago, when Anansi was just short and squat and fat and round, and he would always wear a little hat on his head and a little coat on his body. And he lived with his wife, and his wife took very, very good care of him. Now, Anansi lived in a little village, and around him were all his family. And by family, I don't just mean the moms and the dads and the kids. No, everybody. So the grandfathers and the grandmothers, aunties and uncles and cousins and all kinds of relations. And sometimes you even have the aunties and uncles, you don't even know where they fit in the mix, but they're there still somehow. I'm sure that you guys watching have all got somebody like that in your family. And so Anansi was living there with his wife, and one day he was feeling extremely hungry. And Anansi loved to eat more than anything else in the entire world. He loved food. And if you can imagine your tastiest, most delicious, most mouth-watering, exquisite meal, well, Anansi would probably love that too. His wife happened to be cooking, and she had a great big pot. And bubbling away in that pot, there were some beans and some potatoes and some carrots mixed in with some delicious peanut sauce. And oh, the smell was so mouth-watering, so delicious, so creamy. And Anansi could hardly contain himself. He reached out one of his tiny little short legs and tried to just steal a little taste, and pah! His wife smacked his hand and said, "No, it's not yet ready. Oh, in fact, I'm missing some spices. Look, Anansi, make yourself useful. While this is still cooking, go down to the marketplace and I want you to buy me some spices and bring them back here." Oh, okay. So he was about to go off when he had a thought. He thought that he could quite easily get distracted in the market because everybody was selling fish and fruit and all kinds of vegetables and tasty snacks. And he thought, no, I don't want to miss this delicious bean stew. So he told his wife, "Wife, please tie a piece of string around my leg. And when the food is ready, I want you to just gently bing, 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 pull that string, and I'll know the food is ready and I shall come racing back." And of course, his wife agreed. So she quickly tied the string nice and tight so it wouldn't come off, and off he went, and she had the string attached next to a little pole, a little stick right next to where she was cooking. Off he went, and he was enjoying himself, thinking about that delicious bean stew. Oh, he could hardly wait. His stomach was rumbling when suddenly, he began to smell something. Something good, something delicious, something tasty, and it was coming from his sister's house. So off he went across the track over to where his sister lived, and "Pakadakakadaka, Hodi!" he called out. And his sister said, "Karibu, come on in." And so he went in, and he saw that she was cooking too. And she had lovely soft mandazis, like African donuts, but without the hole. And they were all puffy and fluffy, crispy on the outside, coated and smothered with sugar. And she was getting them nice and ready for a celebration that they were going to have that evening. "Oh, sister! Oh, look at these delicious mandazi. You don't mind if I..." And he reached out with one arm and tried to grab one, and his sister smacked his hand. "No, these are not for you. I have carefully counted these ones, and I am not going to have you coming and messing up my plan. No, I tell you what, you come back later on, and if there are any left, then you are welcome to carry as many as you like." "Oh, you are the best sister in the world," Anansi said. "But I'm on my way to the market. I don't suppose you could just take this string and just tie it to my leg, and when the mandazis are ready, just bing, bing, pull, and I'll know it's time to come back." And his sister laughed and thought, what a silly spider Anansi is. But she did as he asked, and she tied a little piece of string around his leg and kept the other end right next to where she was cooking. off he went, waved goodbye, and continued down the path. Oh, 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 oh. He was so excited. First, I'm going to have bean stew. And then for dessert, I'm going to have myself some nice, delicious mandazis. Oh, oh, oh. Now, he hadn't gone far when suddenly, what is that smell? He came to his grandparents' house, and there was a delicious aroma floating through the air. And it was some lovely jollof rice. Oh, jollof rice! And his grandparents' jollof, his grandfather's jollof, was the tastiest jollof in the history of the world. The way he mixed up that rice and those tomatoes and those spices and peppers, and oh, he could not wait. He went into his grandfather's house and he said, "Grandfather, grandfather, please let me taste some of that delicious jollof rice." But his grandfather said, Anansi, it is not yet ready. Go do your thing and then come back in about an hour. And Anansi said, "But, oh, this is terrible. I really, really want some." And so he asked his grandfather if he would tie a string around his leg, and when it was ready, you know. And off he went after his grandfather had agreed. He continued on his way to the market. But do you know, along the way, he stopped at his cousin's house because she was making some delicious potato fritters. He stopped at his auntie's house because she was making something else, maybe some lovely samosas with mincemeat and a little bit of chili and lime squashed into the center. He continued until he was at his uncle's house, and his uncle was busy making toasted coconut, all kinds of delicious foods, and nothing was ready. And so Anansi had insisted that every single one of them tied a little string around each other's leg, around his legs. And off he went to the market. And when he was at the market, there was sugar-coated mabuyu seeds. There was every kind of deliciousness, tastiness, wonder, delight candy that you could imagine. And Anansi, he was stuffing his face. He was having the best time, the finest time. He was enjoying, consuming, dribbling a bit, wiping it away, and continuing to cram his mouth full of all kinds of goodies. When suddenly, bing, 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 his wife was busy telling him that the bean stew was ready. Ha! Time to go home, he thought. And he started to make his way home, carrying his bags of food and spice. And as he was on his way home, bing, 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 oh, another string started to pull, and it was his sister telling him the mandazi were ready. And then suddenly, bing, bing, his grandfather was announcing that the jollof was ready. And then suddenly, all the strings were being pulled. Everybody in his family was telling him that the jollof was ready, that the toasted coconut was ready, that this was ready, the samosas were ready, the potato fritters were ready. And he didn't know what to do. And he pulled the strings back, and they didn't know what that pulling back meant, so they pulled even more. And soon, poor Anansi was stretched out with one arm in this direction, another arm in that direction. His legs were at the back. All of his 8 limbs were left, right, center, everywhere. And everybody was pulling, 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 letting their beloved Anansi know that his food was ready. "Oh, please stop," he called out. And when finally they did eventually release, boom, he dropped to the ground, a little bit shaken and a little bit worse for wear. Quite sore too, I imagine. And when he got up, oh, he felt rather weak and rather wobbly. And he looked down and he saw that his arms and his legs were nothing like how they had been before, when they were just short and squat, trying to reach for things. No, now they were long and thin and spindly and stretched. And to this day, every single spider that you ever come across, whether it's in Scotland right here, whether it's in Kenya, whether it's in Ghana, whether it's in Japan or America or South America or Australia, anywhere that you go, have a look at the spider and you will see that those long, spindly little limbs exist to this very, very day. And that is to teach spider not to be so greedy. So let's just see if that is that. And if you ever do come across a spider and the spider happens to be gobbling away, have a little look and see whether it eats like a greedy spider or whether the spider has got lovely, beautiful table manners.